Hi everyone. Sean Mel from PhillyPoSH. Unfortunately, Lito couldn't make it. He got a little fender bender on the way here. TJ's currently TJ's currently I think he may be home with his wife because they just had a new daughter, if I'm not mistaken. So congratulations to him. I'll probably show up in the January meeting. I don't think we have any announcements per se off the top of our heads. So far, no movement on the winter scripting games. Haven't heard anything. If anyone else heard anything, let me know. But I haven't seen anything. I think Lito is still going to the PowerShell Summit. I'm not. I don't think TJ is. If there's anything else going on. We may be, I was at the Philadelphia Exchange user group or Unified Communications group early last month. And it looks like they may be trying to put together like a tech Saturday extravaganza.
Yeah.
Yes.
Margo?
Bargo, and I forget what the other guy's name is.
Chad.
Not Chad, it's one of the new Microsoft guys as well.
Yeah. Richard Spiderman.
It might have been him or one of the other ones.
He's a link guy, right?
It's good. I mean, because might be a little more people.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, I said that both PhillyPoSH should be more than happy to dedicate multiple speakers, all of our speakers if possible, at the very least myself for a few sessions. So keep an eye out on our blog or Twitter page, blah this, blah that. Hope we'll have some more information as it gets a little more concrete. Besides that, I think that's all I have. So basically now Sunny's going to give a presentation on WMI methods, Windows query language, and SIM, and WMI events. Sunny's given presentations before. You can check our blog. I think we have his previous presentation on applying with the polywalls. Methods.
Yeah. That was good.
It's actually, if you guys can do, it's actually a pretty fascinating presentation on how to apply different programming methods and methodologies to doing your PowerShell scripts. I got a lot out of it. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely check it out on our blog. But I'm handing it over to Sunny.
Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone. Thanks, John. First, the original presentation was supposed to be with just WMI Events, but I gave a similar presentation in New York, and half of the guys kind of fell asleep, so I thought I'd probably, gradually go with something and then get on to the good stuff.
So you're thinking we're going to be better.
Exactly. Is there anyone who hasn't used get WMI object? I don't think so, right? Everyone has used, that's the first thing you do when you start with PowerShell, get WMI object, Win32 computer system, operating system, disk, logical disk, network adapter, and all of these stuff. But my question is this, has anyone used WMI methods? Okay.
Are they basically the same, the basic methods that come in with WMI? Like, say you're stopped, if you query the services, you kind of put in the WMI methods to stop the services, along those lines, or you're talking about something else?
I am talking along those lines, but I don't have all the answers, so I have a code for that.
Okay.
So why WMI? I don't need to sell WMI. Everyone loves it anyway. Page load management comes with all operating systems. I personally have a love-hate relationship with WMI. I mean, the first time you discover what you can do with WMI, you love it. Then when you try to do something more and you get the data, it comes out of your queries, you absolutely hate it, but then you discover the remedy. Then you discover something magical, and so you never get out of this love-hate relationship. I mean, it's always you love some parts of it and you hate some of the other parts because it's so funky. I don't know. I'm trying to find the appropriate hate word, which is universal, but I don't know. So WMI was modeled to model real-world objects. You can query using WMI get_some instance. So everything in PowerShell is an object, and you know that, right? I mean, whether it's a string or something, it has a property and it has a method. kind of similar thing applies to WMI. So everything has a property and everything has a method. So that brings me, I'm going to do a lot of, going back and forth between code and slides. It's going to be more code. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to interrupt or, ask anything. And John, would you be kind enough to monitor the chat room if anyone has any questions so that, all right. So, where's my WMI methods? So when you do a GWMI class Win32 computer system, what is this? These are properties. These are properties which are tagged to a variable, and these properties are filled. Because a lot of times you will do a WMI query and you will see that that property doesn't have a value. Has anyone experienced that? I mean, you will query something and it's empty, so you will not, your WMI queries don't work. This being an object, it should technically have methods. You see, if you run a get number on this, there are some nice interesting things on top which you can do with Win32 computer system. Join domain, rename, and set power state. You have to understand these methods are specific to the class. I'm querying here. I'm querying Win32 computer system. If I change the class, the methods which are available, let me just make it easier to read instead of a lot of verbiage on screen. So if I change Win32 computer system to Win32, let's say logical disk, can everyone see this? I get check disk, reset, and set power state. So technically I can do a check disk from WMI. If I change this to service, set of options which are available. And now let me answer John's question. Is it same as StopService StartService? That was your question, right? So you can only do a stop and a start service, but can you change the state of the service to disabled or change start mode to auto using PowerShell? You can't. You can't. So to do that, you'll have to use WMI methods. And I'm going to talk briefly and introduce you briefly on how to do these things. I'm going with whatever you know, except the pipe part. I mean, I'm just adding stuff. Win32 logical disk, Win32 get service. You have done that. I'm just adding a pipe and I'm doing a get number and I'm extracting the method from there. So I have some little bit of code related to that. Can everyone see this? I already executed this. Let me just try something else. So we already tried get WMI computer system. Did anyone try this? I'm trying to extract, this is going to take a long time because this executing this class, GWMI class Win32 product, is going to circle through all the products which are installed. I have a nice nifty piece of code where I extracted certain values where I created Win32 product, but this class has a lot of data, a lot of properties. So when you're querying this class, it's going to be slow. I wanted to show you this. I'll just copy this to the other window. It might be easier for everyone. Okay, what did I just extracted all the classes which are in rootsim v2, which starts with Win32, and extracted all the methods which are there. Can everyone see this online? I just wanted to make sure I'm not Yep. Let's see. What is the class? Win32 network adapter configuration. What can you do from WMI? You can enable DNS. You can change your default MTU level. The default MTU level is 1500. You can change it to 492. You can enable DHCP. You can do stuff. You can send default TTLs. The thing with WMI methods is every class has its own set of methods. So it's not like I'm going to just do a get member static and I'll have a common set of parameters which I can pass on to these things. You'll have to discover each of them individually. So the way I do this is I take the name and I take the class and I enter it in Google and I get the first link, which is a MSDN. And you find out what are the parameters which it accepts. And each one will be accepting different set of parameters. Each one will have different number of parameters. There is nothing uniform here. So that's where it gets to. The more you know about WMI, that's when you start hating it, because there is nothing uniform or universal. There is no one magic trick which you can apply in this. Let's dig a little bit more into this. Has anyone tried to launch a remote process without using PSExec on another computer? Everyone, how would you do that? You'll use PSExec, right? If you need to launch something on any of the other computers, you will be using PSExec. So, simple code, get content, and here is the real meat of it. You parse it as WMI class, and what I'm doing is I'm double backslashing it, going through the namespace, then root sim DQ, and calling the class Win32 process. I'm passing it a parameter on this method called create. And what is the parameter? cmd/c mkdir c10. So stories from real world, I was querying about 890 servers because I needed to install something on the whole lot. My colleague over there can testify that I've actually done that. I'm not faking this. I need to find out, I need to install something, and I need to copy something on C10. And with 900 server infrastructure, you do not know. You cannot just, just do your copy or whatever, copies and stuff. So I actually query all the servers in my domain whether it has a C10. If it doesn't, I do a try. And I call this works every time. I'm going to do a test for this. Let's say, do I have a C test? I do. So let's create something called C test 2. C test 2? No, I don't. Where is my... Simple logic, right? I have a run book where I have I'm just going to assign a static name to this. That's the name of my workstation. Very simple. Try to execute this WMI command. If not, catch the exception and log it to a file. And the file name is somewhere. Oh, damn. Let me just execute this in a separate process. Demo in real time. This is the kind of results you will get when you execute it. So did you see you got a PID? This PID was executed in local. So I used double backslash the $test server name. So instead of this, you can add it to any server name. I can do a get content, parse it, move it, and it works. So this, yes, please.
On the question, it looks like a developer, and the events, that's why I said,
I don't know, but I understand where you're coming from. I haven't used fork, but I understand it maybe. Now, I think this is using name types to execute it on the other one. I do not know much about that fork.
I assume the PowerShell version 3 remote.
Version
management-
2,
The remote, no, but I'm saying the remote management stuff.
no remoting required.
Let me finish my thought. If he wants to actually fork something, the remoting would allow him to run multiple sessions at once, correct?
Remoting will allow him to run multiple sessions. But
You can launch something in the background and call it back later with the remoting stuff. Right?
yes, we are still in the process. Yeah, you can do that. See, you can launch something in the background, you can get the data back as a sim session and do stuff with it. So, and you can launch multiple sessions to multiple stuff and collate the data in your host workstation. Has anyone done it? Infrastructure, real time. Launching multiple sessions into the same computer and stuff like that. Because see, these things work a lot when you're testing things, but when you're trying to launch multiple sessions, the workstation from where you're launching these things, that gets killed first. Nice in theory, but practically.
My only point was only to, I mean, you're showing us something in WMI. There's a way to do that with PowerShell. This probably isn't the method, but there's a way to kind of accomplish what he's trying. Not recommending it, just offering.
Okay. John, here is the part which you were asking about. Everyone knows this. You do a get service Win32 time, and you can do pipe it to get service Win32 time and pipe it to stop service. It works. You can also do a get service computer name, blah blah blah, ABC, and Win32 time. But what happens when you try to run this? Has anyone tried this? Trying to stop a service on a remote computer. No, it doesn't work. You cannot pipe it to stop service. When you do a get service, computer name, ABC Win32 time, yes, because stop service will only run locally. The question is this: how do you restart a service on a remote computer?
Reboot it.
Yeah, see, the point is this, yes.
Or command.
Yeah, see, PSS session, invoke command or PS session, great ideas. How do you do that actually? I mean, you launch a session, you stop a service, then disconnect it, and then you'll use the same variable to launch another session, or you'll create another variable.
What I'm doing is a one-off. So I'll just create like the one session there. If someone give it a name, I'll say new session, pipe it to enter session.
Or you'll just pipe it, so you are not going to give a name.
Yeah, I don't even give it a name. I feel like if I'm going to do programmatically, then I'll probably like invoke it that way.
You're going to do an invoke command.
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing is this, with things like that, what happens is you end up creating a lot of temp variables in your PowerShell session. It gets bloated. After a point, you're going to kill your own computer. I mean, if you're doing it at scale, I mean, anything about 100 and 200. So there is a, okay, why is my computer name here? There is a nifty little trick using WMI methods. You do a get WMI, and it will take a computer name as a parameter, and you filter it using whatever the service you want to stop. And after that, you do an invoke method and the same verbs, stop service and start service. Where did we see this? Words, start service, stop service. Take the word, pass it there, pass it a second parameter called null. It works. Deploy it at 650 and counting. And the thing is this is much faster. Faster meaning I have servers in different geographies. None of them are local to US. So when you execute it and it comes back, I mean starting and stopping a service in like less than 2 seconds. But I have a good MPLS connection that I cannot vouch for the network connectivity, but WMI itself, it works. It works smoothly. What other options are available? So, did anyone try to change the service start-stop state? Never? Did anyone have to programmatically disable a service? But in case you want to do that, okay, there is one small note here about return values when you're trying to execute WMI methods, and this is vital, so that's one of the reasons why I put it up there. Return value of 0. You're not going to get like service started. When you're trying to execute a WMI method on a remote computer, you're going to get return values, and that's how you understand whether the code executed or not. Return value 0, it works. Return value 2, you usually have a access control issue. The most common which you will get is return value of 21. And you do not know what return value of 21 is. It essentially means is if you're passing 2 parameters, it needs 3. Then try 4. And I just keep on passing nulls. I mean, there is not a lot of code publicly available which you can Google to do everything which you want to do. But if it is available, and if you have someone who has done this with WMI, please.
Is that why you have that call in parentheses so you see the value?
This one?
Yeah, right up to line 46, you have it in parentheses.
No, the right after line parentheses is when you put it within the double brackets, I can put a dot and call the method on that. So I actually write my WMI objects with this. Even if I don't call it with a dot, it executes and returns with the result. So when I try to do a method, I would just put a dot and write the method after that. So it's kind of like a coding standard which I have adopted, and I can extend it just to get the property out or to get the method out.
So how does the return code show up in PowerShell?
0000.
I'll
execute it.
As a function call? Return?
No, see.
I guess I never thought a command is returning a value. So familiar with it in command shell, but not in.
Just taking off the computer name parameter, and I'm just going to execute this. I hope everyone can hear me online. So I have a service w32.time which is stopped. So I'm going to do bam. Yeah. So you can assign it to a variable, and if your return code is 0, move on. Otherwise, do a catch and do exception handling. And this thing is fast. You can do it at multiple servers. If you're doing desktops, it works at desktop levels also. So if you want to, if you're doing some kind of, okay, I want one kind of standard, these services and these things should be running, which probably every system admin does. Desktop level, server level. And if it's not running, what do you do next? Run this. Okay, so getting back to the presentation. Methods are dependent on the class. You do not have a universal set of things. So just like whatever class you use, depending on that, if it's a Win32 network adapter, you can do a lot of DNS stuff, DHCP stuff, or network metric related stuff. If it's a service, Windows can start and stop, which is just a quick demo. Anyone has any questions about WMI methods? Just asking. Sure.
Did you try using password?
I didn't. I'm not sure. if I did not get it as a parameter.
Then you can pipe to StopService with a pass-through, dash pass-through.
Okay.
And take the input.
I haven't tried that, but I will. How do you do a stop service and pass through?
Right.
See the main.
Whatever, you query whatever you want to service, and then type into StopService.
Main problem is stop service doesn't have a computer name parameter.
And what you could do is what Jason was talking about last month with name expression is you take what you have on one side and you basically convert it.
See, I mean, look, for something like this, John was saying, I mean, right now, the accepted thing is you do an invoke command and do a stop service, you log into that, you do an invoke command as a parameter for computer name. So when you do an invoke command computer name, it will run it on that. But the main problem with this is stop service does not have, yes, it has a pass through. I haven't tried that, but I will check that. Thank you. Next up, WQL. Does anyone write WQLs? WQL stands for WMI Query Language.
Just look back perhaps and the StartService StartService in the PowerShell 3. You can pass through another computer name.
I haven't tried
That's
that.
not.
I have mix of both.
Yep.
And see, my objective is there are lots of changes which I cannot make, and I have a change control process.
Understood.
Yeah.
I'm saying when there are definite benefits and ease of use when you get PowerShell 3 that
Yeah.
weren't available in PowerShell 2. So
Yeah.
it definitely has an input object that you can pass those parameters.
I also, in my network, WinRM is not on in all the computers. So, and that requires a change request, and you don't want to.
You have a way of turning it on.
I do. It's not about whether I have a way. It's about whether I have the ticket for that. So, essentially. Don't tell my people what I can turn on. Alright, so WQL. So has anyone seen, you know, you can do a GWMI class computer system, but has anyone executed things like this? Select star from the class name where caption is blah. Okay. Any benefits? I'm sorry?
SQL queries.
Yeah, these are SQL. I mean, WQL is trying to make WMI queryable like SQL. And these things are like 10 years plus old. I mean, this is already baked into your operating system. It is baked into version 2 and up, maybe version 1 also. So I needed to find out what is the Outlook version I'm running. So if it's Outlook 2010, I wanted to put in a patch. If it was not 2010, do not. So simple query. You can just do a get select star, and from visual to product, you can capture the Microsoft Office. Then from Microsoft Office, there will be a list of products, capture the one in Outlook, and you'll have a property called version number. I'm assigning it a global because I want it to be available outside the scope. Pardon me. The interesting queries are here. Let me show this. These are my network adapters which are available with DHCP. How will you do it without WMI, by the way? Anyone? If you want to find out which of your NIC cards have DHCP enabled, assuming workstations or servers may have multiple NIC cards. How will you do that? Anyone? Not using WMI?
Sorry?
part.
Sit down.
This is pretty, I mean, because if you want to find out, if you have multiple NICs on the server and you want to find out which one holds the static IP, you want to eliminate your DHCP enabled ones. Then you filter it out. I'm sorry?
Get network adapter configuration.
That's that. Yeah, get network adapter configuration is in PowerShell 3 and up, right? 4 in 2008. Yeah. So if you're working with a heterogeneous OS kind of mix, workstation plus desktops, you want to have one consistent thing. I mean, see, the main reason why I'm advocating this is because it is already in your OS. You don't need to install anything. You can query from whatever OS or version of PowerShell you're running to anywhere else. Just query the WMI and get the data out. There are some similar things which are these are just small examples. And see, the main reason why I use this is because this one has the parameter for computer name. So I can actually launch this query on some other computer and get the results back. So if I am trying to farm it out, like batches of 100 using a runbook, I can do that. If I have to do a stage something, I can do that. So a lot of times, WMI, the main reason why you should try to use WMI query, because GWMI query, write your query, and you can target it at a computer and get the results back. Rest of the stuff is same. SIM is anyone using SIM sessions? Get SIM instances? Anyone using it? I'm sorry?
Unfortunately not.
Any pros and cons why you should or you should not use SIM? Anyone? Good.
It is cross-platform.
Correct answer. But if you're using WMI, let's say I'm using WMI and you have to sell SIM to me. Why would you do that? I mean, how can you do that? Let's put it this way.
WMI is going away in 10 years.
Yeah.
WMI not going a SIM. Most of the SIM commands are actually wrappers on WMI. If you actually go down below in the thing. But the key question is, why use SIM if you're comfortable with GWMI? Anything?
I have a book for a lot, but more like it's simple. And I believe there's performance.
Correct answer. I am going to.
There's also fuel ports.
I'm sorry?
There's also fuel ports.
Ports.
Yeah.
So I think you can do a decom and
Yeah, you can do both.
You can do both.
You're both not the old decom way if you
Yeah.
want to, or you can use WinRM.
Okay. So I have a sales pitch for SIM. I'm not sure if you're going to, go back from this presentation and say, oh, I'm going to start using get SIM instance from today and abandon all the code I've written in GWMI. But the sales pitch is this: every time you're using GWMI, you're making one call to a remote computer to query something. So if you're querying a class, Win32 computer system, one call. Win32 network adapter, second call. Win32 logical disk, third call. The more calls you make, the amount of, if you have to do a proper inventory of your infrastructure, it takes time.
I guess what I was trying to say, back to that other point, you said why use SIM. What I was trying to say is that you can use SIM. I know about the other, the WinRM or the, right, but if you choose to use it the way it's currently designed, you use fewer TCP ports.
What happens is you use something called a SIM session. Once you use a SIM session, you pipe in, you query all the classes to only one connection. The end result is this: if you're doing a network inventory using getWMI object, and try the same thing, just replace your code with SIM instance with a computer name and use a SIM session. Your code, your return, if you do a measure command on this, values will be much, much different.
You can only use it on machines that have PowerShell free.
No. Is it?
Because you need WinRM.
No, WinRM is not subject to PowerShell 3.
No.
WinRM is the WMI, hangover. WinRM is I'm sorry, what am I saying? WinRM is a service. It doesn't have any dependencies on that. WMI or everyone actually queries WinRM to get that. So, you have to have the WMI PRSV service running. Perfect. You were saying something? So, if you are doing GWMI and you want to know why should you use SIM, sales push number 1, use SIM session, much faster queries. I have some, I think I have some SIM stuff. I do not have another computer to query. I don't know, maybe that didn't come over from GitHub. Okay, that did not come over. Sorry about that. I don't have much code in for showing SIM instance to show you how to connect another computer. I'm going to move on to the next slide, which is what the presentation was originally about. WMI Eventing. Is anyone using WMI Eventing? Okay. Second, I'm sorry?
I didn't know what it was, so I looked at your picture.
Really? You know what it is before they looked at this slide. Okay.
Just from its name, I know what it is.
Okay, so eventing means yes, a callback actually. So the thing is this: if you have to find out if your computer, if your C drive is less than 10%, how would you do that? How are you doing that right now? Early morning, you get an HTML report, right? Everyone gets an early morning HTML report. 6 o'clock, mails out to the whole network team, and Windows Exchange 80. Exchange guys check their, the Exchange disk space is not low, logs are not filling up, and things like that. So everyone has one morning report which is filling up their mailbox.
We actually have a live monitoring system that does this continuously 24 hours a day, and it's free.
Okay, is it SolarWinds?
Nagios.
Nagios. Okay, so how is Nagios doing it?
Agent.
Okay, Nagios will have
Well, not
agent.
just agent.
So how is it the agent doing it? Can you just put it this way? The reason I'm selling this thing, these things are baked into your OS. You don't need to buy anything. You just need to code it.
That's not free.
Which one?
Coding it is not free. That's not funny. I don't mean it that way. It really is not free.
I understand, yeah.
When you're making a decision every day to buy something or write,
Yeah.
it is not free if you write it. Don't fool yourself.
I'm
suspecting you get paid a salary. Right?
I do get paid a salary.
So it's not free.
Okay, so we will make it just a semi-introduction to eventing. The main reason for using something like eventing is, instead of querying something for a value, let the OS alert you when it reaches a certain state. And I'm going to discuss some of the ways you can do that in PowerShell. And I'm going to show some cool tricks also, what you can do. The problem with the tool is, you buy a tool to do a particular job. 5 days later, you realize I wanted to do something else. And I want to do something else. And I wanted to do something else. What do I do?
Use Nagios. It can do anything, really. It's bad.
Okay, I'm going to show you.
But I love this. Go ahead. No, this is interesting. This is
I'm going
really
to show you
interesting.
something, and by the end of the presentation, please let me know if Nagios will do that.
Sure.
How about that?
Sure.
Remember, it's
Yes.
open source. You can plug it in.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you can. My code is free, by the way. Monitor state changes for file, directory, process, registry. I did not go, I wrote etc. because it goes on, and I did not explore everything. Service down issues. Registry value modified. Is anyone checking it? No. New file creation in a directory. Can you do that? Yes, you can. New process launches. And I have a neat trick where I'll show a use case where exactly this can be used. By the way, anyone has a Java problem in the network?
Trying to keep it updated, but other than that.
Okay, so I hear 3 people who understand what the problem is. I'm assuming everyone else is patched because there is no way you can patch Java and be satisfied that nothing is going wrong. Can anyone ever say that, okay, my network is okay with Java? Never, right?
Never say that with anything.
No, there is a site called Is There a Java 0 Day today?
Today.
Yeah, so the days until Java 0 day, it's always 0. Meaning every day there is a new another 0 day. So,
How many days is last year?
okay, moving on. So essentially, what is the difference between writing an evented code and writing a non-evented code? This, get service, well, this starts facing but stop. Right? So if I have to write this as an evented code, how does it change? And the reason I introduced WQL because I'm going to write a little bit of WQL here. So let's start from instance modification event within 1. 1 means 1 second, where target instance is a. These are the terms, I'm going to get to that later. Is a Win32 service, register an event when the service is stopped. Does anyone want to see this in action? Okay, evented versus non-evented. I do this. This lists all the services which are stopped. I do not know whether it stopped right now. There is no way for me to know whether it stopped during the day, what time did it stop. So if you're trying to do that, you're going to get into the event log and try to filter a system log event, which is a nightmare. Life should not be there like that, don't you think? So I'm going to do some cool stuff. Here, I changed it to instance modification event within 30 for a specific reason. Because if I do not change that, I cannot stop that service. I will show you. Okay, so I'm going to F8 this. So when you launch, when you do a registered WMI event, this is PowerShell v2, you can execute it anywhere. When you do that, it launches a job. So far, everyone with me? Everyone knows jobs, right? Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs. So it has a name because I did not pass it a variable called name. So it just took some variable block. So I have a service here. Adobe Acrobat looks harmless. Kill it. So if I do a get job, it is not started. Wait for 30 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait for 30 seconds, and this dude. I was actually doing this demo with 1, and it would not let me stop that service. So isn't that what you want, that your Exchange service doesn't stop, or anyone who's using Enterprise Vault? Do you have that? I'm sorry? Enterprise Vault service stopped after receiving 10,000 errors. Okay. Okay, is it not 30 seconds yet? Sorry? Oh, it wrote service stop. So what do I do here? Oh, sorry, that was a detect and report. This is detect and relaunch. Okay. Restart service, this is within 10. Bam, 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 bam. It's going to start. Is it not 10 seconds yet? I don't know why it is not launching, but essentially,
Is it only starting services that you just stopped?
no, here's the thing. I am detecting something called an instance modification event within 10 seconds with a target instance of Win32 service. Now, there are certain parameters which are available when you're dealing with events. I'm going to get to this later. One of them is event dot source event hours dot new event, meaning this event is new, dot target instance. So target instance has a name. I don't even need to find out what service I stop. I don't need to detect and write code like find service if it is Adobe. Find out what service I stopped and started. As till now, let's see the job. It has not started. Okay, let me just.
What's the edited part?
Okay, now it has started. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you were saying something?
Scroll over to the end of the part.
What's the rest?
Because what is the actual trigger to say that you're looking for or a service that has just been stopped?
Register. Let me just F5 this again. Oh, I am so sorry. Why did this code not work? Anyone?
I think what he said.
You already had it stopped, and you're well
Yes.
past the 10 seconds.
No. The thing is this. I did not stop any service.
No, it's already started.
So there is no way it can start it.
If
So-
it wasn't an event, but nothing happened, we've already in that state.
Exactly. I'm just looking at the job. The state is not started. Oh, damn. Oh, damn. But I started. This thing started before I called stop job. Let me just do the demo a little bit better. Sorry. Job. Okay, jobs are empty. I'm going to F5 this. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to count till 10 and magic happens. Voila. Thank you. There's no problem with the code. There's a problem with execution.
Yeah, you know.
5 lines. So the thing which I wanted to show you, and that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to do a presentation on eventing. How many lines are these? 5 lines. You can target this on any computer in your network and not have it stop your EV service, which is a pain, seriously. Trying to find out, because monitoring systems, I don't know what monitoring system you're using, but monitoring systems most of the monitoring systems, they'll just send you emails and emails and emails, and you have a bunch of emails. After a point, people stop looking at these things because you're getting an email like every second for something or the other is stopping or starting and things like that. I want my monitoring system to start the service, not send me an email.
Possibly both.
Possibly both. Why not?
This is just doing, if anything has changed on the service, right?
Yes.
These modifications, so if you were to do anything with the service, and it was already in a stop stage to start.
Yes.
So like.
Yeah, so the point is that this is just a 5 line to detect a stop service. Yes, the reason you have action block because you write your code logic in there.
Right, but I mean, if you had it stopped, and say you were in the SMFP service and you made a change, but it was still stopped, that would actually say, oh, start the service because.
You'll have to write the logic for that.
It was modified.
Yeah, it will be captured, and yes, but you have to write the code logic for that. And I'm going to get down to that. The key takeaway from here is that these are the event parameters which are available. You'll have to do some digging around it, but the idea is this: you do not need to pass names. You capture what was stopped or started and do appropriate actions just based upon the parameters which are being passed down by the event. This preferably should not be run remotely. my experience has not been very good with that. If I'm doing an eventing, I would do it locally on that. But I want to keep all my jobs locally. I don't want a job starting from here, which is doing eventing on some other computer. Messes up my frame of mind, you know. There are too many things to track at once.
Also, if this server is down, then you're not checking the other.
Yeah, I mean, lots of things can happen. I mean, I want my, you know, if I'm doing an eventing, I want my events to be local. So that I can go into that, I can do lots of stuff. I mean, I can do an invoke command and get the jobs out and see whether it's running or not. But that's just a convention. There is nothing particular about that. Okay. So this is my sales pitch. Eventing is one of the least used but very powerful techniques. It allows you to break automation in your script. Instead of checking whether the space is free and deleting temp files or whatever, or you know, whatever your process is, there is a certain standard thing which you would always do if your C drive is going down. Like you clean up the temp, Windows temp, and blah and blah. Write code for that because someone is repeating it. If someone is repeating a task, write a code and have it launched as an event. Your mileage may vary depending on how, what server roles, stuff like that. Let the script bug you when it's really important, not for mundane stuff. Why do I need to start a service which is stopped? We somehow think it's our job responsibility. It's not. Write a code for it. It will handle it. Write a code for it. We should be using our brains for creating. If you're thinking automation, this is evented. It doesn't get better than this.
Is the events get registered, they get lost or reboot, right?
Very good question. Excellent question. And I'm going to answer you before the end of the day. Excellent question.
Yes, stick around.
Okay, so the point William tried to say is you can use this as event handlers. You saw the action block. Action block is an event handler. You can make it semi-intelligent, which I just demoed. If a service has started, you can make it more intelligent. Where you put in your logic conditions using your, if an event ID is that 10,000 thing, then start the service. Do not start the service, because if it's not that event ID thing, Enterprise Board has a particular event where if it generates 10,000 errors for archive task, it will stop the service. So you don't know why it does that, it just does that. I mean, that's the thing when you're dealing with the
counter overflowed.
I'm sorry?
The counter overflows.
Something that I don't know why it would do that, but there's even because the point is this: if you detect a stop service and if you detect that there is a generated event ID like that in the last 30 minutes or whatever, then start service. Do not start service just like that, because there might be some other issue. You do not know why the service stopped. So when you're thinking automation, you have to factor in these things. And again, I can bet Nagios can't do that. But it checks the service as stopped and correlates it with the event ID. You can. Long poster. This is your WMI core, SIM object manager, which queries the WMI repository. There is a WMI COM API and clients. And below that are the providers. What is a provider? Anyone has heard of a provider? Like he's a provider.
Class.
It's not a class, it's more like a external. See, in WMI context, it's a provider. I don't want to call it application, but it's something which provides you additional functionalities which are not available natively within a WMI. But so it's called external. So the providers are by definition external to the WMI. The WMI will provide you, will give you certain functionalities. It will not natively handle if a registry key value is changed. So Microsoft wrote something called REST provider. There is an SNMP provider which is used to track SNMP messages. There is SMTP provider also, which is baked in. So there are about 5 or 6 providers. There's a timer event provider. So there are 5 or 6 things which Microsoft baked in with WMI. Not part of WMI, external to WMI, but it is part of the standard build. Questions? Should move away from this poster. People are getting really tired. Types of events. Let me answer your question first. You asked me, will that job sustain a reboot?
The answer now is it depends.
No, the answer is not, it depends. The answer is no, for the code which I wrote. But there is a way it can sustain a reboot. So I'm going to get into a little bit of details about what type of events there are and what kind of event subscriptions there can be. So WMI has 2 types of subscriptions. One is called temporary, second is called permanent. Simple. There is another 2 called intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic means the capabilities are within WMI. Extrinsic means it has to come with the provider. So far, still with me? And there are timer events, which you can do stuff. This is so the registry events are being provided with the standardized provider. And yes, you can write your own provider. It will probably be I think a provider is a COM object. It's not an exe, it's a COM object. Okay, so here is the thing.
You said that on your previous slide.
I am going to. I think my slide ordering was a little off because I was trying to answer your question. So there are 2 types of event consumers. You were asking whether it can sustain a reboot. So there is the code which I wrote was using something called register WMI event. Or you will see another thing called register object event or register some other event. So when you're looking at something which is a register an event in a PowerShell class, that will launch a job, which I showed you where I stop job, remove job or something. So that code will not survive a reboot. So how do you handle that? Because you don't want your monitoring code to go away if the server reboots. Common sense, right? So that falls in the category of temporary event consumers, but there is something called a permanent event consumer. And it took me a long time to understand what is the difference between these 2 simple things. When I say long time, I mean probably 4 or 5 months. Because fundamentally, the difference is this: a permanent event subscription is written to your WMI repository. How do you write it to a WMI repository?
I'm suspecting you're going to tell us. Very good. Very good.
So the thing is, if you write a MOF file, has anyone heard of MOF files? So the whole logic behind the presentation today was you guys have started to see presentations related to DSC, desired state configurations. MOF files are going to be heavily used for DSCs. So in a DSC, a MOF file gets compiled and pushed into your permanent repo. If it gets compiled and pushed into your permanent repo, it will stay there. It will survive a reboot. The other way of looking at it, it's very hard to remove it. If you're writing an event, because you have to actually go into that namespace, into that class, and remove that specific event. So people usually write temporary event consumers, and I've seen code, and I've written code also, where you would launch it as a scheduled task, where scheduled task will be launched as a boot. Because it's easier to deal with. But removing a permanent event consumer without knowing MOF files is a little, well, not easy. Has anyone seen a MOF file? It's the animal. This.
If you're ever dealing with objects and you want to know about the MOF files, you can find them on MSDN and it'll tell you what the MOF file format for that particular object.
You can also go into Windows System 32. There's a folder called WebM. You search into C Windows System 32, you do a dir star.mof/s, but a list of things. So Who loves WMI right now? No one, right? Does anyone? Do you want to write this? No. So this is a MOF file, and I wrote a code, and what you can do is, where is my thing? So I wrote something called a MOF comp minus I, and you pass that MOF file as a parameter, and it goes into your permanent WMI repo. So once this MOF file gets compiled, so that MOF file it has just properties. Along with that, it has methods which will interact with those properties and give you some other functions. And you can write your own, Sunny32 underscore class. Does anyone want to see something like that in action? Okay. So, tools which are available, you can download what is called WMI Sim Studio. You can just Google WMI Sim Studio, download it, install it. It's an ActiveX plugin. It connects to your WMI repo and does stuff. So everyone knows WMI root sim v2, right? So I'm going to connect to something interesting called WMI food. Is it there in your computer? Yeah. It cannot be, because I just compiled it. So, hey, how about this for WMI? You do GWMI Win32 computer, whatever, do a GWMI Win32 meat, or Win32 vegetable, or Win32 bread, or sauce. I did not write this. This is hands down the best guy in the world on WMI. He wrote 2 books in the year 2001 before he joined Microsoft. It's been 12 years. I haven't found a better book.
That's actually helped me a lot. If you want to find things, Mike was doing something with associators of, and I was
yes, associators.
Well, I was
yes.
telling Mike earlier this year that you can go in here and do the associators
yes.
in graphic format.
Yes, yes, yes.
To help you understand things in a graphic way.
Yeah. So WMI Sim Studio, it gives you. I would recommend the book by only one guy called Alan Lissor. If you go to Twitter and Alan Lissor, I'm probably the only fan in there. Alan Lissor is God. He works for Microsoft right now. Not sure if anyone internal Microsoft people will testify, but I think he's part of some automation, some project. I don't know whether he does these things exclusively right now or not. He wrote 2 books, probably 2001, 2003 when he was in HP. Hands down the best book on WMI. It's called Understanding WMI and Leveraging WMI. And the beauty is this, when you go to Alan Lissor's website, he has the code for all of these things available as REST-kit downloads. So you download the code for version 1 of the book and version 2 of the book. Lissor is Lissoir. The entire code repo is written in VB. 2002, where was PowerShell? No PowerShell. But it rocks. He wrote this MOF file, compiled it. I had to do MOF comp minus I, mof.foo.mof, and it shows up. So, anyone dealing with HP hardware? Dealing with HP Sims? Okay, so how does HP alert a bad drive?
Bad drive?
How?
The local SIM agent puts an alert out, and the HP SIM server will actually come out and say, oh, you got this, or it actually sends an SNMP message out, a trap out.
The guy who wrote that book was probably part of the team which wrote that product. Because he was in HP when HP Sim came out. And he was in HP when he wrote that book. So that's the guy who wrote this meat and cheeseburger MOF file. The common logic is this, it is going to, these MOF files are compiled into the HP Sim hardware, agent is polling that, So whatever I did with the, I need to not, and since these are in the permanently in the repo, if you go to that computer, any HP hardware, you will have, just like you connect to root sim v2, you will see a root/HPQ. And all of these definitions, these mock files are compiled in there. So somebody wrote a really amazing mock file, compiled it into HP repo, bam! Every time a failed drive, this, any event, you plug out the network connection, it shows up in HP sim. Tell me another company which does that. Does Dell do that? No. There is a reason for that. And this is the magic sauce. You know something more interesting? Anyone did a Stuxnet analysis? Did anyone analyze Stuxnet? You know Stuxnet? So Stuxnet's magic sauce was not that it was trying to rip out whatever the centrifuges in Iran. The magic sauce was how it was detecting it. It was a mock file. And it was a 0-day hit. Because nobody ever thought that you can write a mock file, put it into WMI repo, and not monitor it. It does not need to go over the network. It does not need to do anything. It will always do it. You reboot it a number of times. Windows systems connected to a SCADA computer, running a SCADA, which is connected to a Siemens machine. How are you detecting it? Go to device management and see your Siemens machine. How are you detecting it's a Siemens machine? From a Windows computer, a mock file. But if you are going to, inject your code into Iranian computer, are you going to do SNMP walk? No, right?
No, but I mean, it's doing the equivalent.
Yeah. A friend of mine told me that. He did an analysis. Good news is he also writes mock files. He's in the security industry, by the way.
So we monitor our net.
Yeah. I mean,
Verify if it's low distance case.
smart people, I mean, this is very easy. That mock file is not greater than $100, I mean, 100 lines. But it's really painful to write it. Painful to read it. So, did I answer your question? I skipped a slide. So essentially, remember the diagram I showed you? The essential idea about a WMI eventing is this: there's a publish subscribe event. So WMI will publish these events. When I'm calling it from PowerShell, when you make a call, when you do a registered WMI event, you automatically subscribe to that event. So whenever that event is generated, it's going to feed into PowerShell. Can anyone give me another example of an event which is there on every Windows computer?
Administrator routine.
How about event viewer?
Restart them. It puts it into a.
Yeah. So event viewer plugs in to a WMI, gets the thing out, but instead of putting it into a text file or something, it puts it into EBT, parses it, XMLs it, sends it. So event viewer is actually a subscriber to an event. That's how the operating system works. You feel better about this?
Should the event viewer?
You feel better that you know how this thing gets controlled.
So event viewer is a subscriber
To
WMI event?
yes, and it subscribes to external Windows NT log provider.
Think of it as there's a publisher, which is writing the paper. There's
Oh, no, I get it.
people reading.
I understand pub sub, so just trying to understand that.
So there is an NT event log provider. So the sweetness here is this: if you want to really write hardcore code into a high volume login, you don't need to go through event log. You don't need to do a get win32 event log naming application and blah and blah. And your own provider, you're going to just pull all the logs out. Not one from everyone. That's beyond my capability. I don't know many people who would do that. But if you're writing code I would go and target Windows ending event log this, write a provider, which is just going to filter out all the raw logs. So that's going to be much faster than whatever PowerShell query you can write to do a get event log, log name application, filter, and wait. A provider is a comm server that communicates. Publisher, subscriber. If it is not needed within WMI, write a provider. Simple? Still with me? Traditional flow control. This is just a flow control about how the pub thing works. This is, by the way, from the God himself. Written, hands down, no matter how many times you read it. Traditional flow control. Why? Condition. Call ABC. Calls ABC, returns the control. Event-driven flow control. Register an event and wait for events. This wait for events guy is the subscriber. When the event happens, it publishes with a trigger. Run action, run action. And this is what we saw register WMI event. This is the same example with the register object event. This is again from T2. I could not find a better guide. There's not many people writing about these things. Name of the member of the event and object to register, script log, which is action log. You can forward it to another computer. Remember utilities where you can forward the event log to another computer, right? Does anyone try those things?
Well, it's built into the event logs. Now.
Yeah, but how is it built into the event log?
Well,
What
sure.
exactly is providing?
No doubt.
This guy. I mean, PowerShell is also calling into that, tapping into that to provide a forwarding service. Source identifier message data supporting event. The interesting thing is actually this slide. These are the automatic variables available. You know automatic variables, this, $using, things like that, which are available in your session. But when you're using a register object event, in the action block, these variables are available. All you need to do is take one of these guys and do a get member. When you find what exactly is the, just do an event.event subscriber, then do another get member. And you build on that, so you get to a state where you're not passing things by name. You're passing things by references. Because if you're passing things by name, you're trying to hardcode stuff. You're trying to hardcode if the service stopped as Adobe, then started. Why do I need to restrict it to Adobe? Everyone. So these are the 5 magic automatic variables which are available, and you have to get member the hell out to get a real sense of this. 2 days of hard coding, and because you have to play around with a lot of get members. I'm going to show you some demos on there to show how this works. And let's go on to some coding. Okay, so this is done. This is done. This is done. Okay, I have some code. So, the problem. The objective is find out if anyone is running Java on their computer. Anyone in your whole network. If they launch Java, the PID and capture the parent PID which launched it. You know what's a PID and a parent PID, right? I mean, most of the process will be running on the Explorer as a shell. So when you create a new folder, if you monitor the event, you will see that it's parent PID for that is Explorer. And that is the answer to your fork question. You're asking, right, how exactly it forks? Sir? You're asking about that Unix fork thing, right?
Yeah.
So the Unix fork is actually, it forks from the main source and creates and launches another program. So every program has something called a parent PID. Simple function. So let's start from instance, earlier we did a modification event, right now we're doing a creation event. but the target instance is a Windows process. Has anyone seen code like this? Right? VB? Has to be VB. Non-VB, I haven't, barring a couple of people. So the basic logic is this: I'm trying to find out if a process is starting, name the process is Java.exe. I'm going to first unregister an event because I'm using temporary subscriptions here. If the job is already running, if I try to launch the job in the same name, it won't run. And that's what I was talking about, the automatic variables. I'm trying to catch. I'm catching this event here with that name, catch Java, with the event, and then I'm going to pass these parameters. Event with a source event or new event and a target instance. Everyone knows these types of coding, right? You create an object and you pass that object. So yes, blah blah blah. So here I'm taking it as easy patterns, which is this. Otherwise I'll have to write the whole block again and again and again. And this is what I was getting to, that you have to do a hell lot of get member. Because once you get this, first you start with this, you do a get member, then you get source event orders, then you do a get member, then you get new event, then you do a get member again, then you get target instance, then you do a get member again. That's how you expose. Then in case you get a process process. And it was really cool. By the time, it will take you some time to do these things, but by the time you get to that, otherwise you can use the ready-made code. You'll see that every activity on your computer is emitting a lot of stuff. And you can capture and play around with it and do stuff. So this code, it will create a report whenever anyone launches Java. And I kind of commented out the computer name property. Typically it can detect remotely. But as I was explaining, I want all my jobs to remain local. Just trying to code it remotely and things like that. It may not happen here. So if you're doing it on that, instead of C script sunny blah, what you can do is you can double backslash it and send it to a network file. Be careful to have one name for one computer. Otherwise, you'll have one file which is trying to be written by multiple processes. When one process is locked, then you get into a different, you create another problem for yourself, which is called concurrency. Stop me whenever anyone wants to stop me. Okay.
So you're setting this up on each computer as a scheduled task?
No. Yes. Because I don't want to yet write mock files. So yes, I have developed some scheduled tasks which will run at boot. Wait for a few minutes, launch at boot, because scheduled task has a property with launch at boot. So it boots, launches PowerShell, waits, launches events, waits. These are not production codes. I mean, because trying to do eventing in production, there are a lot of tickets now.
That way it'll survive your.
Yes. But it is running somewhere.
Right. It's running as no user.
It is running as a no user. It will run on boot. It will survive reboot. It will log in. I'm not catching Java in that code. I'm doing something else in that code, but it's definitely an event and it is kind of acting like this. But catching Java and deploying something like this, it's like, I'm trying to create a software which probably there should be some in the market, like Barones or one of your group policies or something like that, But you can hand code this. Clunky, but hey, 27 lines, what can go wrong with that? I will share this with you. Same code, minus the parameter of exe. So you see over here it was within two of the target instances of the process and Java.exe. I'm just cutting it. I'm not filtering Java.exe. So this should technically give me all processes, right? So what happens when I 5 this? Blah. 5 this. 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 5 nothing happening, nothing on screen. So if a user is trying to do something, hey, let me go to a porn site right now. Blah, blah, blah. Some stuff here. Oh man, I'm cleaning the computer. Really? What time is it? I launched Excel. That was captured. I launched Notepad. That was captured. The JB launcher was, the original code was written for Java. IE failed because I was trying to track IE. I tried to track which IEs were activating this. There's a computer name, the page, and there's the current page. So what is 2972? Because 2972 is common across these things, right? What is 2972? Let's find out. Answer.
You told us earlier.
I did?
Repeating what you said.
Why is it Explorer? Because I was launching it from start run. Sweet code, right? 10 lines. You're capturing every EXE which is coming in. Can you turn this into auditing mode? So that, because a lot of times some malicious thing will launch with 0.exe and disappear. Your monitoring systems are not fast enough to catch this. You cannot write enough GPO rules to catch this. Why? Because for a GPO rule, you need to mention a name. Otherwise, you'll be blocking all EXEs from executing. You can block a game, provided you know the name of the EXE. Can you block something for which you do not know the name of the EXE? Very hard to do it with the GPO. Anyone has a better idea, please?
There used to be something where it could actually determine what to do was not by the date, by.
Yeah, see, again, yeah, very good question. So, I'm going into something called application whitelisting. Is anyone doing it in their environment? Code. Where's my code?
Denying all and then only allowing.
Yes, but the company name is Microsoft or Adobe or blah blah. How can I do that? Because I have the page, right? From the page, I can see what exactly is the company name, because you cannot fake that. You need a certificate to fake that. Yeah. I work with a lot of security guys. They're very good at their job. I have to work against them. This is not an enterprise way. This is kind of hacky way. But you don't have, if you want to put this into a mock form and compile it, you just whitelisted that computer. Only Microsoft applications will run here. No matter what you do, it won't launch. It won't launch now or ever. This is not antivirus. This is different. Antivirus will look at your exe, check the signature, download the signature file, and do this. This is not signature checking. I'm just blocking everything which is not whitelisted.
Well, it launches, but then you shut it down.
Yeah.
So it runs for a brief period.
1 second. Anyhow, I'm done. Before you can do it, the point is, anyone who's writing malicious code, they will not know what hit them. I'm hoping, but there are a lot of smart people in the world. And they're very good at it. This is my humble presentation. Thank you. Shit. Did I launch something? I don't know. See, that's a problem with, when you're dealing with so many of these things. You don't know what's going on where.
your security people heard what you said and
I know.
they've taken action.
They're very good at it. Trust me. I mean, very good friends of mine, but very good at it.
If you're not doing the mop, you actually close this and it will automatically get rid of it.
Yeah. So the point is this: if you're not doing the mop, you stop the job. It's gone. No monitoring.
Or you close the application out.
Yeah.
If you're running it on.
Yeah. You have to kill the Explorer, which will restart the shell. So nothing major, but I wanted to show one last thing. It's close to 7:38. Thank you for still staying with me. Where is my thing? So I did not write this. It's written by this gentleman. Amazing piece of code. Okay. This is kind of in the show-off category. Oh shit. So, teacher is absent today, right? Get the file. What's that happening? How am I tailing this? So is anyone interested in the code? Because whatever we just talked about for the last hour and a half, which is behind this, with some combination of other stuff. This is a custom function. Yes, you can tail with a get content tail, or just tail. This is a lot of big Indian, little Indian things, but the magic is happening here. You've seen a code like this, right? We just did a register WMI event. So doing a register WMI event, this is called a file system watcher. This is how you would write a file system watcher. And the reason you can write that is because there is a class in not file system or file system watcher. So here it is stealing a file. You can take a folder and turn a whole directory. Don't try that. Funky things happen. I mean, it just messes up your logs and stuff. Use case, you can do a get content tail for any, Windows update logs and stuff. But if you want to really snoop on what the hell this dude is doing. Works for text files. If you want to do Excel, it's complicated. But works for text files. As long as the job is running, it will tail. And it will tail in real time. Don't try this at work. Try this at home. And this is, old code. But the point that I'm trying to, convey with this presentation is this, that eventing is really powerful. And it gives you certain scope things which you cannot do with any other tools. You need to buy stuff to do these things. But if you know how, where, and what to use by writing not greater than 30 lines of code, you can imagine. The end.
Thank you.
Anyone has any questions? Stop this job. When you shut down your laptop, the job keeps on running if the laptop is running. And, as something stops, something starts, and things like that, it goes on. So, any questions? This is more like an introduction to the concept of eventing.
It does feel like that. You mentioned 2 books about WMI that are.
Yes. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Hold on,
I need
hold
to.
on. Let me ask my question.
Sure, go ahead.
They're at least 10 years old.
Yeah.
It feels to me like we spent the 10 years since then abstracting WMI and building it into stuff so that we don't have to learn it to that level of detail.
The 10 years of evolution led you to PowerShell design state configuration. I don't know why nobody paid much attention to this, apart from a guy called Chakraborty.
It's so complicated.
It is complicated.
I mean, seriously,
Yeah,
you would invest hundreds of hours to come up with some of these solutions, and we have a network to run, right? So it really is complicated.
Two dudes. Bo finally got an MVP, topped the Bo this year. Amazing dude. Very good code. And his blog is just wealth of information on and on and on. And it's not like he's copy pasting stuff from other places in the world and putting stuff here. He does original research and he does good stuff. Trevor, amazing dude. And he's the only guy. Oh, by the way, he created this PowerShell Power Events so that you don't have to write a mock file. So he created PowerShell kind of thing, which goes under the hood and does a mock file thing. And again, this is very old. Not many people are using it again because when people think WMI events, they're like, oh shit, this is complicated. Let me skip that and do something else.
So some of this is built into the newer versions of Windows in better tools. You mentioned like event log subscriptions.
Yeah.
And I can do it through an event, through WMI Eventing, or today I can in event log on my Windows 7 machine, subscribe to events on remote servers and whatnot. So they've been building some of these tools into and kind of abstracting them into more user friendly approaches.
Yeah. See, end of the day, if you want real-time monitoring on anything, somebody is writing this, whether they're writing in C for faster execution or C# for accessing the .NET. Right now you can write C++ CLI, so you can using C++ you can access the .NET framework. But somebody, end of the day, will be writing something similar to this. That will deal with mock files and the filing. And yes, this is kind of looks not very admin friendly to write. Let me put it this way. Developers maybe yes, but very short, small pool of developers will be interested in this. But they want to write their next Facebook and stuff. So, but there is a zone which is not very interesting for developers, not very admin-y, but there are some real utilities. And so that is the reason why all of these software companies which build tools for admins, they will write this sale, I think, $1,000. And you would buy this because you do not know someone else who is doing this. Because at times they're really, if you really need to monitor something which is doing a batch processing job, it has to be a service. The service has to be up. Otherwise, there's a financial implication. You're going to buy that software, even if it's $1,000. Doesn't matter. You're going to figure out a budget for this or something. You're going to buy that because if no one else is doing it, if there's only one company with office in New Hampshire or something. But I'm just trying to introduce you to this idea that it's possible that you can do it yourself. See, 3-4 years ago, you did not know what you can do with your OS till PowerShell came along, right?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, PV people here.
I'm talking about. I wrote this in Command Shell.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
If you're talking about service, just SC, service control, and I fired up WMI, remote WMI, on all my computers by firing it up remotely, then install all my antivirus software using its tools, which needed WMI working, and then shut the service down so nobody else could mess with it. Did all that from the DOS command prompt using PowerShell. Using shell scripts. So this isn't new. We managed this stuff for some
before you guys came along.
Yeah, don't forget. I was too old for this stuff. He knows what I'm talking about.
He didn't mean that.
No,
he didn't mean that.
I'm saying
I remember writing it.
You got some old guys here to know.
In the past, we have something do like that because the CGI.
What?
Because the CGI didn't stimulate because
CGI? Oh, that's a for CGI. Did anyone use Kickstart, by the way? Did anyone use Kickstart? Did anyone program in Kickstart?
Yeah, definitely.
But you can do a lot of stuff with Kickstart.
Yeah, it was a great environment.
See, you know,
Actually, before PowerShell came along, I was seriously thinking about investing a lot of time in Kickstart.
See, Kickstart, a lot of these codes, which I actually do in PowerShell, I actually look at a Kickstart code and make it PowerShell. See, at the end of the day, all of these guys are also in touch with WMI. Amazing too. Came out of X-Max people, but see, the main objective is PowerShell is making a lot of these things easier for admins to do. It has always been done before, making it easier. And right now, you have a command like for something which would have required like 20 lines. Stuff like that. John. By the way, this is the dude, Alan Lissor, Understanding WMI Scripting, hands down, best book. And if you go to his website, the code samples are there available for free. All of them are in BB, batch, all kinds of stuff. But it's awesome. Trust me, it's awesome. And you'll find that, that sandwich mock file also, compile it, put it in.
You get food?
Boys, good.
Well, remember registry.
The end. Thank you, sirs.
Anybody chance just send that information over? We'll post it on the website if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Scripts and everything.
Should I stop presenting?
Yeah, I'll pick up from here.
All right. So will anyone code in the event? Will anyone start eventing? Just out of curiosity, what do you think? Too much to take on one day.
I mean, I'm using it for different reasons. I mean, same thing. I don't have facilities to, for starting and stopping a services or monitoring a service.
I'm gonna pop yours off, if you don't mind.
I don't have any desire to manage on a server-by-server basis what jobs are or not run. But I'm using it for other stuff, so I mean, there's a benefit to it. Just
See, see, the issue with things like this is you have to do it in a repeatable, enterprisey way. And 9 out of 10 times, if there is a product, just allocate a budget and get it done. But if it's not that critical and there is something smaller, there is that window where you need to check it, but you don't have the budget for it, kind of thing. I mean, tools and things like this get built around these, and then sooner or later you find, okay, my tool is better than your tool.
I've done this a lot for. On a desktop to lead or stopped and lead started, so fine. It's fire off the screen, give you a list of machines, start it off, okay, now run. So stuff like that.
Any other questions, anyone? Shane?
Alright, I guess 2 quick things. Did anyone actually try to do the homework we signed?
Sorry.
Last time?
You missed it.
It was on the blog. How come you didn't read it?
Ever since Google Reader went away, I've lost all my bloggers.
Use Feedly.
I didn't say the word solutions. I said I love that. I love that, right? Oh, you need to do something else. Well, I know that.
You're in a room full of IT people, and they look at a column.
Holy crap.
Yeah,
You
that's
can
what's
put it
good.
into Bing News. Did you know that?
Really? I haven't tried that.
Bing News. If you're using Windows 8, the Bing News app, you can add your own feeds to the end of it.
As much as I love,
Yeah, Feedly's pretty good. Well, there's an app for it and everything. That's why,
It's a
too.
solution.
Well,
goes across what every device is on.
yeah, pretty much. There's Windows Phone app. That's,
Oh, perfect.
yeah. There's a Android, iOS, yeah.
There's a Chrome app, I think, right?
Yeah, I think again it's Chrome application too as well.
Does anyone use Chrome app?
Just a couple.
It's really
Trying to use less and less.
pages for me.
Yeah.
Trying to use less and less.
Is that a Google thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Is that a Scroogle thing?
No, that's it. Come on, that's actually helping.
Okay.
You know, all the sprinkled T-shirts and all that stuff. It's sold out.
Yeah.
I heard all the Google. I bought a good bit of it.
I'll bet they did because they think it's hilarious. They're gonna wait until they're gonna wait until Microsoft does the same stuff and sell it back to them.
The day this Google thing happened,
Google by
Azure had a
Microsoft.
DNS issue.
Yeah, they all.
That's the same day. I mean, and there was this gentleman.
Theorist all of a sudden.
Brent Dozer was like, "This is normal."
It's fact.
Does anyone have anything they want to like go over, discuss script club wise or anything? Anyone have any questions or anything they want to discuss with the group? I don't know. Did anyone have any does anyone have anything they want to discuss with the group or anything? Like
Besides me?
yeah, besides you. All right. Well then, Joe Camp has something that's go over pretty well.
This is not a presentation. This is not a giving. This is a taking. I'm hoping for again some help.
Let me see if I can get you a easier mouse and keyboard to work with.
No, I am getting email.
This
is difficult to read, isn't it?
Are you in Susquehanna?
Yes. Sorry? You guys works with the same company
Yes.
I do.
I think we know a colleague of yours.
I think you do. Who's that?
Greg?
Arjun.
Yes. He just joined us.
Where do you work?
Evelyn?
Hang on. Where's the mouse?
You have to spell it. Evelyn?
Let me use the mouse here.
Yeah, sure. All right, so we have this is all geared towards clients, so desktops and laptops. We use SCCM. I've said that before, and we have what's called a desktop maintenance window, the window of time that we're allotted to reboot or install software updates or new software en masse, and also software patches for Microsoft and third parties between 12 a.m. and 6 p.m. on Sunday mornings. So as part of that, we run a wake up on LAN script on 10:30 at night on Saturday night, and we reboot machines twice during our maintenance window, one at the beginning, one at the end. So we ran into a problem one day with Dell Optiplex 980s. There was like 20 of them that didn't come up, and they all had issues. So from that point, they asked if we could come up with a way to ping the entire list of machines in our environment before and after the maintenance window, compare it, and give an output. So with that, I've done that. So this isn't really too important to it, but I'm querying HP Service Desk. That's where we have our CMDB to get my list. And when I get my list, I am pinging them. Once I get the ping list, I send it to a text file. If the before text file exists, if the before text file exists, I'm going to do the after. I'm going to send the results to after. If it doesn't exist, then at the bottom, I am creating the before file, and I'm just emailing myself to say, yeah, I know that this file exists. So that's at 11 o'clock the night before. On Sunday morning, it'll do the exact same thing, compare them, send the output to me. But the problem is, John went over, and it's actually John's fault. John went over on how to make things prettier using HTML, and so I wanted to do that. I wanted to make it prettier. I didn't want the ugliness that is the text file that currently works. Yeah.
You talk about CMDB. What you talking about? RDF or installation? No, SCCM.
Well, the configuration management database.
Yeah.
It's just a database that we keep the assets and all the information for the client machines. And it's just a point of discussion to say that this is where we're getting our data from. This could have easily just been a text file of a list of machines.
Okay, I thought if you use the resource, that's some framework. I mean, look for what to do, what you look for the how they do it, and then you look for connection and stuff like that.
Yeah, in this case, we're just using it as a point of reference. So here's where I'm at. This got cut off, I think. You still have that email up, Joe?
Pull it up for you, really.
So I am. I'm still doing the same thing. I'm doing the before and after.
Do you want to read emails to me? Looks like you got cut off email-wise.
Then I can go one more place.
Sure.
I'll just go online and grab it.
Okay, go nuts.
Bear with me. Didn't know if I was gonna. Didn't want to bring up pieces of paper again this time, so. Great.
Should cancel.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know why it does that.
So V one we just looked at. Really? I guess. Can I just copy this maybe? Where is PowerShell? No, I'm just looking for this. I just want to see if this gets everything.
Limit on the characters.
It must be. It must be. All right. Well, that's annoying. So the biggest difference is I'm not saving it to a text file. I'm saving it to an HTML. And I compare the HTMLs and I get the difference. So if you get the difference, it's obviously ugly. You don't have the header frame. But what I was able to do, which you don't see here, is plug it into manually. I just create my HTML and then I create parameters from that. And here's the long story short. If I manually create, if I run it manually, and the before HTML file gets created, and then modify that on purpose, or copy it and make a results.html and modify that on purpose. And then run just that script to say, give me the difference, email me the difference. It emails, it's perfectly presented, it looks perfect. The problem is, it doesn't do that on a scheduled task. It will, some days it'll create the before file on Sunday morning. Some days it creates the before file when I expect it to on Saturday night. But with this new version, I've never been able to get it to work before and Saturday night and Sunday morning.
So this is when you're manipulating the HTML.
You're comparing HTML?
I am.
So you're running this scheduled task?
I am.
And you're pretty confident that the scheduled task itself is actually executing?
It is.
Just not producing this one?
Right.
Why? I don't want to question your approach here, but I do want to question it.
Okay.
So why store this as HTML and do the comparison? Why not just store this as a CSV, store the result, and then output to email, and then create your HTML? Because you could just do the export to HTML and then send that as a file. And then send your result as a file, not store it and try to compare it. You know what I'm saying? So, because what you're doing is you want to compare two sets of data. So why not just store it as sets of data and then take your result of your comparison and format that as your database?
So I guess to answer your question is, I couldn't figure out the best way to keep it in the HTML or make it in the HTML format that I want.
It's because you want those files there as HTML to look at after the fact.
It would be nice.
Okay, fair enough.
It's not 100% a requirement.
But it's
It's nice.
the standard from yours knows that
Scheduled task runs fine, but the
Scheduled task runs, but somewhere between here and here. So I thought maybe it took a while. I'd seen some, we'll call it performance issues, where it takes a few seconds in order for this to happen, the full report variable. So I threw in 30 seconds to wait.
How would you run a launching the scheduled task? PowerShell.exe with the parameter of the file. Okay, so how about you launch a scheduled task or launch PowerShell.bat. Within the bat file, write PowerShell.exe minus exec bypass block. Pass this as a
What am I doing?
bash file will wait. But I think at some point there is something, I don't know.
It's something to do with the timing.
I
So,
think-
yeah,
You're saying the file's not even
the files does get created.
Half create.
The results HTML file gets created, and the before HTML file gets created. But
I have a question. That's why you do it, you have a problem, you send the process like that, but when you do it, look at the field, screw on, so they know to go out, they run over, and when I look through it, when the process, put the screw on, and then drive back the queue, they put one thing at a time, they shoot one thing at a time, you don't have a problem. You send it to prep, you know, replicate, so.
I also don't want to overcomplicate it either. I mean, like I said, I have it working with the text file.
I suspect you have an IE problem. Because that's probably using an IE control to do all the, the compares.
Yes,
That could be a
this
real
is
problem.
why. Are you making this dynamic at all?
So I'm using your example.
So one quick thing. So
for extended HTML.
I know this is only for good sake. So using the convert to enhanced HTML, it puts in some jQuery, and the problem is we have to say block on that. So when you try actually pulling it in, like the Internet Explorer, it will hang for a good 10 minutes before actually doing anything.
Because it is pulling jQuery from the Microsoft to the Google CDN. The jQuery file is not local. You can download it and find it locally.
Yeah, we're doing that.
But alternately, I would say I think the design is flawed because what you're doing is you're taking. So please take this straight up, Saul.
Absolutely.
You're taking your data, you're combining it with formatting, and then later trying to get your data back out. And I think that's just that approach just feels overcomplicated, like you said. You need to persist your data as it is, and when you need to look at it, grab what's left and present it, and not.
So the text files work. So you're saying take the difference of the text file and insert that.
Yes.
Much better.
I mean, I've stored these things with hundreds of lines in CSV, and each line has a date stamp and the data, and it can build forever, and it never gets over. I mean, it's such a small amount of data.
I think because it's the timing, you're probably right. You're probably
Yeah,
right.
I had to.
And you're right.
For download, I made a report for like reloading the thumbnail pictures, and I tried to make a report that kind of went from per day to the whole search and expand thing. But every time I tried opening it like locally, it was like hang.
So I mean, this makes sense because
I removed a lot of the fancy stuff. The only thing I could use was the like alternating rows. Everything else I had to make sure wasn't like any of the parameters.
Save jQuery locally. It's just a .js file. Instead of pointing to the microFD and pointing to the local thing, they can combine much faster.
So what I can do for you, tomorrow, I have a manual version because if you look at that PowerShell like how to create HTML reporting by Don Jones, he shows you, hey, here's how you can do it manually if you want to do alternating rows. But here, if you want to make it easier yourself, use it to convert to advanced HTML.
So I don't think I realized that this needed internet access. Here's another possibility. I'm running this as my admin, which may not have internet access on that box, and
sorry, that's the thing. It runs perfectly fine on my local account. The admin account has a trouble.
Right. When I'm testing it as my local account.
There's also some on the internet. I avoid the use of weights. I usually try and find a way to incorporate a while or until. And even,
well, I mean, keep in mind, this is me just trying to troubleshoot it too.
So. Right, but you can even use some way of trapping the problem with a while or until. I don't want
for the base part of it, or there's that exporting to a CSV and then move it back in, and then say, for each one of them before.
Yeah, you can
compare
object
also.
also.
Exactly.
It's much faster.
And then you can actually say, this one, yes, this one, yes, yes.
You can,
or it doesn't exist.
You can add another column. To your compare object, add another column that, okay, this is the same or no, different. You can write it back to the CSV. And when you're importing the CSV, you can filter it also based upon columns and based upon what the best values are for the column.
I mean, this would probably never be queried. This is just going to be a report, so people go in
and store both in memory. You could, but it depends on how much data. If it's quite, you said 22 workstations, so it's stored in memory.
2200.
But definitely not in memory. CSV, yes.
2200 computers.
Is it computer name?
Well, because when I go into the CMDB, I'm not only getting computer name, I'm actually getting. I mean, they're all just text now, but I'm getting the group, what group supports it, where it's located.
CSV.
Yeah, CSV would be fine.
Then what you do is just compare a name and say, the name is here. And actually, for the second one, you don't care about all the group or anything like that. So what you do is you get all the information on the first one.
CSV didn't work for me originally, only because I am not getting. Let me go back here. The way I'm getting this, I'm getting an entire string. Right. So I had to basically put this. I had to put them all in as a string in order to get all my data from the CMDB.
You know there is something called SQL with the PowerShell module for interacting with SQL Server. So instead of getting and writing it back, getting it back as a stream in the object. I don't know, I haven't played around with this, but SQL PSX. I think it's on Duplex, I think.
Okay.
But there are multiple ways you can slice it, but if you're getting a string, if it's not possible as a CSV, you can try using something which is possible as a CSV, because CSV is much faster.
Individual columns.
Yeah, let's go from there.
And then what you do is, are you doing this going back to the CMDB? You going there before and?
Yes, I am.
If you did this as CSV and you're able to keep doing that, if they add a new machine.
Nobody's going to add a new machine overnight. Yeah. Well, I would care every week, but I wouldn't care between Saturday night and Sunday.
Right. So what you do is you do a query once against it. You persist it into a CSV file, or wherever you're going to do it. and then you just either in memory, you read that CSV back, so you're not trying to review again and getting different information or whatever you go. Okay, so I've got this now. Go to the first one, read it, and just add an extra column for work that did not work, and then you only say, now from this table that you have in memory, select all where this is not good. And then you just take so it prevents you from having to query all to another server again, because maybe you have the network error helping you anything like that. Might speed it up.
It would speed it up. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so maybe what we're using tomorrow. Thanks.
Where is that up here, by the way?
Or even better suggestion, get a single pass of just the computer names. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do that, just that to CDs. So all that is a list of computer names. So you process that. So that all. Then you load that up and you do the check. Then you do a query of just the ones that fail to get the extra information.
There's a point.
Yeah.
You don't need, you just need it for the ones which just failed. You don't need
Right.
it for the entire 21.
Right.
You're doing a lot of querying because there's stream of data.
Right.
I mean, so if you're working with essentially if you're working with a filtered list, your queries will be much faster. And you also have a jQuery problem, which John was part of.
Yeah, the jQuery is not the actual style itself, it's the actual convert to enhanced HTML inserts it. So like the pagination, your like cursor change, all that's jQuery. There's a switch called like make dynamic HTML or the actual command itself, or like make it insect. Unfortunately.
Okay.
There should have been documentation somewhere that required.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah, I mean,
it's simple. Yeah, no, it's a simple module Don Jones provided. It's freaking dirty.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, the big thing is like.
You just need a simple output, that's fine.
Yeah, everyone's fine. I know I'm always that's why I desperately need those alternating color rows.
I've got that out of.
Oh yeah, no, I've done it.
Actually.
Yeah, I've done it like function wise. It's just nice when it's already in a command. You just go alternating row.
Just use front ER. Right away next to I wrote VB scripts that I had to do stuff that would actually, I would dynamically help the Internet Explorer window so I can see the progress.
It's going through. Hi. Well, if I just go play adjourn for the time being. Pretty sure it's gonna be either myself, Lito, and TJ presenting for January. We'll probably do the PowerShell homework thing again. So you guys want to give that a whirl? Let us know. It's on the blog. We'll repost it. Just to review again, me and Lito took care of it. Like both did examples of it. We definitely came across with totally different ways to go about it, which is kind of interesting. Just to review.
January, first Thursday is actually the second.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, that's good. That's a good point. So, the actually January's meeting is going to be the second week. So that is going to be actually the 9th. So everyone keep that in mind. Yeah, no, I'm glad you were there. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, he was kind of.
Yeah, so I think
And you can see anyway. So yeah, as much as I thinking that I would really like to do that.
Everybody listen we're all trying to,
Make our things.
So I'm reporting to you about it's a good job today.
I give you those tickets, I don't know how to do.
Hey, thanks for presenting.
Yeah.
I love these problems.